Monday, only one undefeated team will come out of that. And then the Seattle Seahawks as well, with Russell Wilson and what he's doing. We're going to rank them. We're going to find out not only where the Titans sit in these three undefeated teams, but are they first? Are they the best team in the NFL? Who is the best team in the NFL with the three undefeateds as we enter week 7 in the league? Then there's a national media member that said Mike Vrabel is the new Bill Belichick, and we'll play that video later on. A lot of times Titans fans talk about the lack of respect from the national media, but saying that your head coach is the new Bill Belichick is as much respect as you could possibly get when it comes to national media attention. Then we've got a list of teams that we're going to go through, Zach, and we're going to weed out the pretenders. We're only going to end with the actual contenders to make a Super Bowl in the NFC and in the AFC. We'll figure out where the Titans are on that list as well. And then I don't know about you, but I'm pretty excited about throwing shade today. I know both of us have video aspects when it comes to our shade, so that will definitely be a fun segment to end this Wednesday show. Welcome in.
Yeah, going to have a good hump day. Hope everybody's having a good Wednesday. A lot to discuss about the NFL. I love these shows. I wish we could talk more about the NFL overall, and I think we will moving forward as the Titans continue to do a good job in the NFL and stay undefeated and stay in the playoff race and stay in the Super Bowl hunt. But before we get going, we do ask you guys to share the show. Bottom right corner of your screen, if you're watching on Periscope/Twitter, you'll see those 3 little dots. You could share the broadcast that way. That would help us out a lot. Retweet the show. We need to pop up in your Twitter followers timeline. Also on Facebook, what's going on, Facebookers? Also what's going on YouTube and on Twitch. More people will pile in over the next 5 to 10 minutes. As you do, please share the broadcast, share the show. That would help us out a great deal. Sharing is caring. Bottom left corner of your screen, if you're watching on Facebook, share now to public. That is share now to public. A lot to discuss on today's show. Plus, get your shade ready because it is a Wednesday.
Yep, Wednesday throwing shade at the end of the show, but let's get this thing going. Welcome into A to Z Sports. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at A to Z Sports. You look our Facebook page at A to Z Sports Nashville. We are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, and we go live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time. Got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for our show, for our business, and they help out you guys. Renters Warehouse Nashville. They are the professional landlords in the Nashville area. Renterswarehouse.com is where to go. Mandu, the pulse of fitness, where one 15-minute workout equals 5+ hours in the weight room. Mandu.com. Your first workout's free. The Tucker Agency, to save yourself some money on your personal insurance, hit them up at tuckertn.com. Calvin and Subtle for your new hardwood floors and finishings as the holidays approach. calvinandsubtle.com. And the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, will be there tomorrow morning, actually. Boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Andrew asks, can we trust the Titans just yet? Well, if you watched our pregame show Sunday from the Mainstay, there in East Nashville, we'll be there for Titans Steelers again in every Titans game day. Yeah, we both said we trust them a lot in that game, and it got dicey at the end, and obviously the Titans needed overtime, but 5-0 is 5-0, and the Tennessee Titans are one of the 3 remaining undefeated teams, along with their upcoming opponent, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Seattle Seahawks out west, that typically always find a good way to get off to a great start.
Yeah, and this, it hasn't been a surprise. I think the biggest surprise is that Kansas City, Baltimore, and Green Bay have all lost. We saw Green Bay lose last week to fire them cannons, Tampa Bay. Love to see that. But we also saw the Kansas City-Baltimore matchup early on in the year, so you knew one of those teams weren't going to last. And then the head-scratcher of the Raiders beating Kansas City in KC. And honestly, the Bills could have played better to make that game this past Monday night or Monday afternoon, whatever you want to call it, a little bit better. But Russell Wilson is playing at an MVP level. I think the Steelers and I would say the Titans have benefited off of the teams they have played this year to be undefeated. But Ben Roethlisberger is playing very well. James Conner, I have him on my fantasy team, so I know exactly what he does. He can catch balls out of the backfield, and he can also score touchdowns. And they've also had the emergence of Claypool. Juju Smith-Schuster is always good, and their defense, that Steelers defense, is always very, very good. And the Titans, if you look at them, and we've talked a lot about what they've been able to accomplish, the two superstars that they paid in the offseason have stepped up. Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry are playing at the best that they've ever played right now. Right now, this is the best that they have ever played, and that's why we have these three teams.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things you can say. Like you can say, Hunter says, I don't see a loss to the Steelers, meaning the Titans shouldn't lose faith. I can't disagree with that. There was another comment.
It's not a defining game, but it also is a showcase game. Who's going to show, and a lot of eyes are going to be on Steelers Titans at noon. I wish it was in a better time slot, maybe an afternoon or primetime game. But because it is early, you know how so it's regionalized, right? That's where they also, what they do is they pick the best game to showcase on the second network, if available, wherever your region of your team is playing. So a lot of people are going to be seeing the Steelers and the Titans because they are undefeated. This is the second game. They played the Bills as both teams were undefeated. We're going to learn a lot about both teams because the competition will be very high.
Well, and the Seahawks played the Cardinals in the afternoon. So that's something where the Cardinals are a pretty dangerous team after dismantling the Cowboys, or a different story, on Monday night, late night. But, somebody brings up a good question is, who of these teams played? Because you can make an argument saying the Titans haven't really played anybody besides the Bills. The Texans are 1-5. The Jags are 1-5. The Vikings are not any good. The Broncos are not any good either. And Drew Lock's having issues after returning from his injury, even though they did beat the Patriots. But the Broncos didn't have Von Miller either in that game. And you can say the same thing, like the Falcons, like the wins that the Seahawks have are over the Falcons. A really good game against the Patriots. They beat the Cowboys, which nearly everybody has. They beat the Dolphins, and they beat the Vikings. And then you look at the Steelers' schedule. The Steelers beat the bad Giants, the same bad Broncos, the same bad Texans, the awful Eagles, and they dismantled the Browns, and Baker Mayfield looked pretty bad. So you could look at at all the schedules for all three of these teams and say, well, they hadn't played anybody yet. But the Titans, you could say the Titans probably had the best win of how they beat the Bills without practice time and 16 days off because of what happened with COVID and the fact they blew out the Bills. That's probably the best win if you put all three schedules together collectively.
Yeah, and Seattle, we're going to be talking a lot about, I feel, over the next several days leading up to Sunday, we'll be talking more about the Titans, Steelers than the Seahawks. But if you look at the Seahawks, their schedule is just about to ratchet up. Yeah. I think we'll find out a lot about the Titans and Steelers, but we'll find more about the Seattle Seahawks in the next several weeks at Arizona, San Francisco, who just beat the Rams, then at the Bills, then at the Rams, and then against Arizona again. That will be the tale of the tape of where Seattle is after those 5 weeks. They're sitting here right now. They're 5-0 after 10 games. I'm curious to see where they are, because that's the hardest schedule of either of all of the undefeated teams.
Well, and I think the Titans have a tough stretch coming up because they have the Bengals after, and the Titans should beat the Bengals. But then you've got the 5-1 Bears, then you got the 4-2 Colts, then you got the 5-1 Ravens, and then you had the 4-2 Colts again. So, and then after that, you got the 4-2 Browns, who aren't like too shabby. But again, the Colts, the Browns, we'll kind of figure out how those teams are trending by the time the Titans get to them on the schedule later once we get into November. But here's the question we want to ask you guys to get you all more involved. There are 3 undefeated teams in the NFL, the Titans, the Steelers, and the Seahawks. How do you rank these 3 teams, the Titans, Steelers, and Seahawks? How do you rank them 1 through 3? That's our first discussion we're truly going to get into today. But first, let me tell you guys about Renters Warehouse Nashville. They are the professional landlords in the Nashville area. Rent estate is booming. If you want to get into the rent estate business, you absolutely can. And renterswarehouse.com, they make it so easy on you to do that. It's 0 hidden fees, no binding contracts, just one low $89 a month price, and they do everything for your rental property. They can also help you out during this pandemic financially. if you've lost a job, if you've lost income, and you want to hang on to that house and that mortgage is really hurting right now, renterswarehouse.com as well to find out how much your home can rent for. Renterswarehouse.com is where to go.
Very difficult question, and how I know is it's taking a little bit. I know you got to type in 3 different teams. It's taking a little bit longer to get some comments in, and I think that's a lot because they're thinking about it. It's a really hard question because we can only go on what we have seen and what we know, right? Mm-hmm. You can't base things off of assumptions of what the future holds. Also, don't forget we've teamed up with MyBookie this season. MyBookie.ag, code MyTitans. That hooks you up and it doubles your first deposit. You put in $100. No. You get to play with $200. You put in $500. No. You get to play with $1,000. Double your first deposit. That's why we partnered with MyBookie this season to give back to our Titans fans. That's MyBookie.ag.
All right, so the answers have started to roll in after you guys have thought about this. Trucks just says 1A, 1A, and 1A. Titans Fan for Life, Titans for Life says Seahawks, Titans, then Steelers. Titans 212 says Steelers, Titans, Seahawks. Same thing with Josh, and same thing with OZ over on YouTube. Steven says Titans, Seahawks, then Pittsburgh. Ty Kendrick saying Titans, Seahawks, then Steelers. Same thing with Lewis. Johnny saying Seahawks, Titans, Steelers. I think I've seen Mike Hall says media will rank them Seahawks, Steelers, and Titans, but he thinks they're Titans, Seahawks, and Steelers. I think I've seen every team be first, second, and third through all of your guys' rankings. Well, I've seen Titans as number 1, I've seen Steelers as number 1, and Seahawks as number 1. Zach, what are you thinking here?
So I think I'm going more towards the media. I rank these, and this is just my pure opinion, okay? I go the best player that is playing football out of all 3 of these teams is Russell Wilson. And I think that he has DK Metcalf. I do think his defense can be suspect at times, but he is so good. I have the Seahawks as the best team out of these 3. So Seahawks, for me, is number 1. Well, this gets us to the matchup this coming Sunday, which is, and I'm struggling with this, Titans or Steelers. I think because of what the Titans were able to do last week against the Texans, come back on top of getting more players back from COVID. You have to understand that. Corey Davis didn't play in that game. Mm-hmm. Both teams also lost key players on their roster. The Titans lost Taylor Lewan to an ACL. Devin Bush, a huge defensive presence for the Steelers, he was lost for the year. I have to go with the team that's playing better, and that's the Tennessee Titans. I have the Seahawks, then the Titans, and then the Steelers. And it's just a lot of this is eye test because, Austin, you're besides 2 weeks because the Titans didn't play because of COVID, you watch me every Sunday. I watch all of these games.
Yeah.
I watch all of them in their entirety. I have a tab on and a read on everything. I know a lot about NFL football. I pride myself on that. The Titans are playing better football than the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that's why I have, and I don't know who's going to win the game. We'll talk more about that tomorrow and on Sunday live from the mainstay presented by Wilson County Hyundai. But I have the Titans above the Steelers. Seahawks, Titans, Steelers. That's my final answer.
Yeah, Hunter says Zach surprised Austin. Yes, absolutely. I did not expect the Tennessee Titans to be second on your list. I didn't expect them to be number 1, but I definitely did not expect them to be number 2. So that's interesting. So again, the question is, how do you rank the 3 undefeated teams left in the NFL between the Titans, the Steelers, and the Seahawks? So Zach, I go actually Steelers number 1. So your third team, I put up number 1 because the Seahawks and the Titans struggle on the defensive side of the football. If you look at the points the Seahawks are giving up, they gave up 25 to the Falcons, 30 to Cam Newton in his second game of the Patriots, 31 to Dak Prescott, 23 to the Dolphins, and then 26 to the Vikings. So they played in some close games. And obviously we know the Titans have given up 30, 30, and then 36. And the outliers there, the Broncos 14 and the Bills 16. But you look at what the Pittsburgh Steelers have done, their defense is the best defense out of the 3 by far. Now, I think the Titans offense and the Seahawks offense overall is better and more dynamic than the Steelers offense. But the difference in the offense for the Steelers is not that far. But the drop off after the Steelers defense to the Titans or Seahawks defense is that far. So I think because the Steelers have James Conner and a couple other running backs who are very capable with Benny Snell and Anthony McFarland hadn't got a lot of run yet, but I do think he's a pretty interesting prospect as a rookie. And then they've got the Mapletron stepping up with Chase Claypool to take some pressure off of Juju and James Washington and Eric Ebron. I think the difference is the pass rush of the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's why I have the Steelers number 1 overall in the NFL right now, is because, yeah, Devin Bush, losing him is a big blow, but they still have TJ Watt. They've got Bud Dupree. They've got big dudes in the center. They're going to make it extremely difficult on the Titans. The Steelers only give up like 66 yards per game on the ground this season. Now, they'll meet their biggest test so far with Derrick Henry and the Titans running offense. But I just think the Steelers are too well-rounded. And then you have Minkah Fitzpatrick in the back end, who just seems like he scores a touchdown every other week from some type of turnover. So that's why I had the Steelers number 1.
Who has the best win out of all these teams?
Oh, and I talked about this earlier. The best win between these 3 teams, it's either the Titans over the Bills or what the Steelers just did to the Browns. I think people in NFL circles believe more in the Bills than they do the Browns. Now, the Bills are on a slide, but, they lost to the Chiefs. It's not like the biggest thing in the world to lose to the Chiefs. But I think the Titans have the best win out of the 3. But I still think the Steelers are the biggest, best, most well-rounded team in the NFL right now, and of the undefeated.
And that was my tipping point. Honestly, it was the best win, which is against the Bills. It's not the Steelers over the Browns. The Browns suck. Until the Browns prove us otherwise, the Browns blow. They will continue to blow. They will continue to not be good. They will continue to not have a quarterback. Baker Mayfield is hurt, okay? And he played hurt, and he got the result that you get when you're the Browns. So the Bills, they're a playoff team from a year ago. I think Josh Allen has improved. They haven't played their best football, but they've played 2 tough teams, as you've mentioned, the last 2 weeks, Titans and Chiefs. And here's I think the key catalyst is the Titans overall, they have had better performances. The Titans have had better performances. Derrick Henry and what he's been able to do. Ryan Tannehill, even in the comeback victory against the Vikings. Ryan Tannehill and the Titans to gain the 24-10 lead at halftime against the Jags, right? They have had really good performances, and that's the eye test that you cannot beat, and that's why I have the Titans just barely, but these are all close teams. They're all
you have the Seahawks 1 and the Titans 2, Steelers 3. I've got Steelers.
Because I've been impressed with Russell Wilson more than any other player. I mean, he's unbelievable. And what's the most important position on the field?
Quarterback. But all 3 of these teams have really good quarterbacks.
But one has one better than the others.
Right, but Ben Roethlisberger, I think, has by far the best defense. By far the best defense. And Roethlisberger's playing clean. All Ben Roethlisberger has to do is basically do what he's done, is throw for 230 yards a game, throw for 11 touchdowns, so not turn the ball over. He only has 1 interception, and then let the Pittsburgh defense just take over.
Austin, you've talked about the Pittsburgh defense, but you haven't really talked about what the Titans defense has done for the last couple of weeks. And Joseph brings it up. The Titans have had a short field to work with the whole game. Why has that been the case?
The Titans have had a short field to work with the whole game?
Yeah, for
the Titans offense?
The Titans offense, they've worked with a lot of short fields. Why has that been?
Against the Bills, yes, but not necessarily in the other games. Against the Bills and the Broncos, yeah, when Kevin Byard forced the fumble early in that Denver game back in week 1, and Truck says opportunistic defense, yeah, the Titans defense has been opportunistic. And look, they're getting better on third down, but they're still allowing teams to convert third downs 57% of the time, which is not good.
Right. But you can't treat them like a redheaded stepchild just because of all that. They've done some really good things.
They have, but the Steelers defense is in a completely different conversation than the Titans defense. The Titans, can't get sacks consistently.
They get turnovers.
They are plus, I want to say they're +6 in the turnover battle right now because the offense had 2 turnovers against Houston.
A lot better than -4 or -8 or all the bad defenses. Oh, look, they give up yards. I'm not discrediting that. But
they give up touchdowns and third downs. They give up points. Outside of the Bills game, yes, the defense played opportunistic and made the key plays when they had to keep the Bills off the scoreboard. But Kirk Cousins put up 30. Gardner Minshew put up 30. And that was a bad game where the Titans had been in control in 2 of these games. The Jags and the Texans games, they were up by 2 scores. Then bad third quarters allowed the opponent to get back in the game. And then the Titans had to have some type of comeback performance. And the defense stepped up at the very end to make plays.
Austin, do you know where +6 ranks in the NFL?
It's definitely top 3 or 5.
Number 1.
Okay. Well, I know it was 1 when they were +8 and they dropped to +6.
Like that. But like that's huge. That's game changing.
I understand that, but the Steelers averaging 5 sacks a game is also game-changing, and the Titans haven't been able to do that. The Steelers' defense is better than the Titans. You can't argue that.
No, I'm not arguing that. I'm saying that there is one facet of the Titans' defense that is better than the Steelers, and that's their turnover differential, and that is a key catalyst in winning football games, and that's why I have them above the Steelers.
So I haven't even gotten to my second team. I think the Seahawks are the second best team because I give Russell Wilson the edge over Ryan Tannehill just because of the longevity of look. Ryan Tannehill is phenomenal, and Ryan Tannehill absolutely deserves to be in the MVP race. But Russell Wilson is leading that race right now. The way Russell Wilson is playing is just undeniable. Like the guy can score points. The guy's going to light it up all over the field. I put the Seahawks second and the Titans third. So my rankings are Steelers, Seahawks, Titans 1 through 3.
Wow. So we are completely opposite. And let me just full disclosure, we don't talk about our rankings before the show. I have no idea what Austin.
What did you expect mine to be this way? What did you think I was going to say?
I thought you
Derek's calling me a hater.
I thought you were going to go Seahawks. I honestly thought you were going to go. I thought you were going to go the same as me. I didn't really think about that right before, but I thought. Because and this is just based on what you've said, right? I got a memory like a bank right here. You sit there and you've said that you like Ryan Tannehill better than Ben Roethlisberger in your quarterback rankings. I thought that was going to influence you. Obviously, it was the defense that influenced you more.
Right.
But I thought your rankings were going to be similar to mine. I look at and we talk about the turnover differential, takeaways. What they've been able to do with the takeaways. Taylor says it's game-changing when your defense gets turnovers and then hands the ball off to Tannehill and Henry, and I'll add to that, and score touchdowns.
Yeah.
Right? And that's something that I think the Titans do better than both of the other teams. They score touchdowns. They don't settle for field goals. It's like bizarro Jeff Fisher. It's really weird. But that's why the Titans are a little bit higher up in my ranking than yours, I think.
Josh says, Austin, you were just talking about the Titans defense not being good. Then you put Seattle over the Titans. Seattle has a way worse defense, LOL. Seattle's defense isn't good, but I don't think you can be considering it way worse than the Titans. The Titans defense is good at getting turnovers, and that is important. But the Titans defense, let's think about this. The Titans are 5-0. Only one game was decided before the last 2 minutes of the game. And that was the Bills game, which was a great win. That's the best win out of any of these 3 teams we're talking about so far out of their 15 combined wins. But they had to have a game-winning field goal against the Broncos, the Jags, the Vikings, and they had to have overtime against the Texans because of what their defense could not do at times in those games. So 4 of their 5 games, they won in the last 2 minutes or less or overtime. That is literally flirting with disaster. The Titans have been able to find a way to win, which is the most important thing, and they've been able to pull it out a lot of different ways. Big Jeff knocking down passes at the line of scrimmage. to stop 2-point conversions or to have Harold Landry intercepted or whatever it might be. But they've been able to figure out how to win, but it's really tight.
So I want to say this, and this kind of will transition us into our next topic. I think the thing about all three of these teams, and let's look at them, trust. And you trust at key positions in the franchise. Quarterback, you trust Russell Wilson, don't you? You trust Pete Carroll. Steelers, you trust Ben Roethlisberger. He's won Super Bowls. And you trust Mike Tomlin because he's been there in the longevity.
Yeah.
And I think we are starting, and here's the difference. We're starting to trust Ryan Tannehill more than we ever have before based on stats, based on what he's been able to do, results. And I think we are starting, and I think a lot of other people are starting to trust Mike Vrabel more than they ever have. Mike Vrabel is climbing this head coaching ladder, to the upper echelon very, very quickly. And Sean McVay ascended it very quickly. So did Kyle Shanahan very quickly. But the consistency of it, I think Mike Vrabel, the trust between Tannehill and Vrabel is starting to creep up to the other two teams' quarterback coach differential.
Yeah, but the other four in the conversation of the six that we're kind of talking about, they've all been there and won it. They've won the rings in their current positions. Mike Vrabel's got 3 rings, but as a player, he's got to get that one as a head coach to be equal to what is happening with Tomlin and Pete Carroll, why they get the benefit of the doubt and why they get that level of trust. But I found this one thing really interesting. We talk all the time. We have a show maybe at least once a month, more in the offseason, about why does the national media not respect the Tennessee Titans? Well, a certain national media member said the following. Mike Vrabel is the new Bill Belichick. We'll play that video for you next. But first, Zach, tell the people about Calvin and Subtle.
Yeah, Calvin and Subtle is right where you need to get your hardwood floors. It's this easy. CalvinandSubtle.com. That's what you have to do. Calvin and Subtle, they are trusted when it comes to hardwood floors. 615-448-6414. That's 615-448-6414 or online at CalvinandSubtle.com. This holiday season, and it's October, it's almost going to be November, which is crazy. But the holiday season's creeping up. Think outside the box. 2020 is a weird year. Instead of buying the traditional gift, you've probably been stuck in your house for some time. Upgrade your house. Renovate your house instead of just selling your house and moving and doing so. Upgrade your house with brand new hardwood floors. It will take on a brand new feel when you walk around your living room, your dining room, your kitchen, your bedroom, wherever you rip up that old carpet or those old hardwood floors and replace them with brand new hardwood floors. The feeling that you'll get will be brand new. You'll stop thinking about the damn coronavirus in 2021 because you're going to walk in and you're going to say, damn, I got brand new hardwood floors. This house, I love this house. That's what you are going to feel in 2021. All you have to do is call 615-448-6414. They will hook you up. I promise you that. Tell them A to Z Sports sent you. They'll give you discounts. They've got cost-effective hardwood floors. Make 2021 a brand new year.
All right, A to Z Sports. Don't forget mybookie.ag, code MyTitans to double your first deposit on any of your bets you want to make. Code MyTitans at mybookie.ag. So, Zach, the topic here is Mike Vrabel, the new Bill Belichick. I'm about to play you a video, and it's from a guy that a lot of you people, Titans fans,
you
people. A lot of you people do not like this individual, but he gives the Tennessee Titans a lot of respect right here. Now,
I've never heard this either.
Yes. Colin Cowherd starts to talk about, like, what was the reaction like with the first time a baseball manager intentionally walked somebody? And use an example of Buck Showalter walking Barry Bonds intentionally with the bases loaded because he'd rather give up 1 run than 4 runs to Barry Bonds, right? And then he gets into Mike Vrabel, what Mike Vrabel has done so far as Titans head coach.
Mike Vrabel this Sunday, late in the game, to manipulate the clock, gave Houston a first down. 12 men on the field. He purposely put 12 men on the field that would give Houston a first down. They were going to get a first down. He's like, I'm just going to give it to you. So you don't go first, second, third. He saved 40 seconds on the clock. And when they scored eventually, there was 4 seconds on the clock. By the way, last year he did the same thing. Remember they took on New England? And he had back-to-back delay of game penalties. Then it burned like a minute of the clock. But this is Belichick. We'll draft a kicker. We'll go for it in fourth down. We'll pass on 3rd and 1.5. Stop living a life with all these rules and have to. You can't, you have to, you can't. Win games. And I've thought about this. If I have Patrick Mahomes or Russell Wilson, if I was Andy Reid and Pete Carroll, and by the way, Seattle's defense is terrible. And even though Pete Carroll's a defensive coach, 2.5 minutes in a game, team's down to the 8-yard line. If I'm Pete Carroll, I'd let a team score because I got Russell Wilson. And as long as you can give me Russell Wilson a couple timeouts in a minute 55, I can win. These are decisions I think coaching staffs have to have in the offseason or in a bye week. Sometimes we're just going to let somebody score. I wouldn't do it if I had Kirk Cousins, but if I had Patrick Mahomes, if I had Russell Wilson, hell, right now, Ryan Tannehill, Mike Vrabel just wanted the ball back. Mike Vrabel's a tough guy. He's like, I just want the ball back. My guys are good. We're good here.
That's Colin Cowherd. Mike Vrabel is the new Bill Belichick. That video brought to you by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Go check out your car there. Real quick, shout out to Danny, who sent me that video last night watching the show. Appreciate Danny for the content assist right there. Zach, what was your reaction to that the first time you've seen that?
My first reaction, I hate the analogy first. I hate, like, you can compare Mike Vrabel, and this is pretty funny because, Austin, you and I and a lot of people watching this show that are Titans fans, they've watched Mike Vrabel coach. This is the first time that Colin Cowherd has really watched Mike Vrabel coach, right? They saw the things against New England. He probably didn't realize that he did the same things against the Jets a couple of years ago. Mike Vrabel's been doing this. I hate the comparison, and I guarantee, and I know this because Mike Vrabel hates that comparison, right? He's his own person. He wants to be his own coach and set his own legacy. Here's what Colin Cowherd is just now figuring out. And I think it's funny because he hasn't been paying attention to the Titans. Maybe that's his fault. Maybe it's not because of where he is. Doesn't really matter. It may be his fault because he should pay attention to every team. But the Titans are relevant and have been. They've been 9-7 the last 4 years, but they've always been in the playoff hunt. And if you're a national media outlet, you should pay attention to that. And if he were to pay attention to the Titans, he would know that this is always Mike Vrabel. This is the coach they hired. This is why it has worked out and been such. And look, he's made some bad coaching decisions too, but he's an aggressive head coach. We learned this very early in Mike Vrabel's coaching career for the Titans. We were scratching our head saying, what the hell are you doing? Against Philadelphia, it worked out. And then against Atlanta last year, it's like, why are you going for it on fourth down when you could go up for it on 3 scores? Like, why are you doing that? That doesn't make much coaching sense. Fake punts, he's done that before. He trusts his players, and sometimes, and this is just what happens, right? When you gamble, when you play poker, sometimes you lose. And that's what it is with Mike Vrabel. But he would rather lose playing with his guys than just, as Colin Cowherd referenced, playing the traditional way. And that's what I think Titans fans and both of us and everybody has watched Titans games has come to respect about Mike Vrabel. And he's played a lot of football. You know, like this, he's a new head coach per se. I mean, he's been coaching now for a few years, but he's new at this. But he's not new at the sport of football. This has been his life, his entire life.
Yeah, but I also think, like, all right, who is Colin Cowherd's audience, Zach?
The LA market?
And it's the coasts, right? It's the East and West Coast that don't pay attention to the Tennessee Titans. So Colin Cowherd saying that isn't necessarily Colin Cowherd only paying attention to how Mike Vrabel is coaching for the first time. It's him having a reason to have a segment about Mike Vrabel after a brilliant coaching move that's outside the box, that's ordinary, that's very Bill Belichick-like, to display that and tell his Coast's audience about how good Mike Vrabel is. So, look, I don't disagree with your points there, but that's you want Colin. Like a lot of people, as soon as I said it was Colin Cowherd in the comment section, like, oh, Cal turd. Oh, who cares about Colin Cowherd's opinion? You should care when Colin Cowherd is saying things like this about your team. This is what you're pining for all offseason, is more respect from for the Tennessee Titans, and Colin Cowherd is giving you great respect by saying that Mike Vrabel is the new Bill Belichick. And he's not saying Mike Vrabel is going to win 6 Super Bowls. He's just saying he's, in this analogy, and a lot of people misunderstand analogies all the time, and it drives me crazy, is that Mike Vrabel thinks like Bill Belichick. Mike Vrabel is going for it on certain fourth down situations that Bill Belichick would do, that a lot of coaches, frankly, don't have the balls to do it. And Mike Vrabel,
or maybe don't think about.
Yeah, I think it's more about not having the balls. Like, I think Romeo Crennel had the balls to go for 2 to make it a 9-point game, because
but he's playing with house money.
That's what I was going to say, because he's an interim coach and has the ability to do that. That's something that Mike Vrabel would probably consider doing. Mike Vrabel was asked, Zach, at his press conference on Monday, that if Derrick Henry's King Cat on 3rd and 5 did not score, would you go for it on 4th down? He said yes. And Zach, me and you were having that conversation at the mainstay of, do you go for it on 4th down, or do you kick the field goal and have it?
What do we say?
We both said you kind of have to go for it here. Yeah,
I didn't say you kind of have to. I said this makes so much sense. He's going for it on 4th down. We were there. This was one of the things I was so adamant about. That's why I loved the Wildcat call. People questioned it. King Cat, Cat. It doesn't matter. But when you line Derrick Henry up in the backfield on 3rd down, it tells me that you're going for it on 4th, because you have nothing to lose. It was a very similar situation that the Texans were in about 4 minutes earlier, that you have nothing to lose, everything to gain. It worked out for the Titans. It didn't for the Texans. Their percentage was still high to win, and they didn't. But this is Mike Vrabel's coaching style. And honestly, Austin, if you were to line up all of these aggressive play calls, these aggressive coaching decisions, Mike Vrabel's got a pretty damn good percentage of it going his way, because he's got really good players now. It doesn't work with Zach Mettenberger and Antonio Andrews. You lose that battle. But that's what Colin Cowherd was saying, which I agree with. When you have players like Patrick Mahomes, Ryan Tannehill, and Russell Wilson, it's easier to make this call because you've got really good guys to execute. And now that's the refreshing part of what Mike Vrabel is working with. And let's face it, the reason why Bill Belichick went for him all those years and did these calls is because he had the greatest quarterback ever to play the game.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty impressive that Mike Vrabel's not even halfway through season 3, and if you include the playoffs, he's 10 games over 500 as a head coach. He's 25-15. That does not happen in the NFL out of the gates. Usually when a head coach takes over, there's no way they win 25 out of his first 40 games, including the playoffs.
Took over for a playoff team.
Yeah, that's true. But
that doesn't usually happen.
It doesn't, because the Titans fired a coach who just won a playoff game, and that typically doesn't happen unless you're the Chargers.
But that stat doesn't mean as much to me.
I do think it means something, that the fact that you don't think that means anything?
No,
you don't think
I didn't say that. I said it doesn't mean as much to me because he took over a playoff team. And traditionally, you don't take over playoff teams. Like Barry Switzer took over a really good Cowboys team in the 90s, and he won a Super Bowl. I wasn't that impressed or surprised.
But he took over a Super Bowl team, not just a playoff team.
But and that's why, how many games has Vrabel lost?
If you include the playoffs, 15.
Right, so 15. He's lost plenty of games. He's 9-7. I get it.
And you look at and how many games has he lost with Ryan Tannehill?
No, I know that's a change, but the history of football, coaches don't get the luxury to take over playoff teams.
Agree.
Mike Vrabel is unique in that. So that stat doesn't mean as much to me.
Yeah, but Barry Switzer, comparing him and Mike Vrabel, you got Mike Vrabel taking over a wild card team that snuck in on week 17 versus the Cowboys, who were
Mike Tomlin is this very, very similar thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't get the luxury of that. And Mike Vrabel has taken advantage of the opportunity. I'm not discrediting that, but this doesn't happen that often. You don't get the Mike Mularkey deals where you get fired after making the playoffs. You just don't.
Yeah, and Derek Lance brings it up. Since the Titans started with Ryan Tannehill, 14-4, and that includes the playoffs.
And how much is this? And this is a great question, probably for another day that I'd love to have. How much is Ryan Tannehill's? Why has Ryan Tannehill been so successful? Right? Is it because Adam Gase got out of his life? Like, I could argue that. There's so many things. Let's save that conversation because I think it's a really good one. Because Ryan Tannehill is absolutely right. 14-4 is miraculous for a guy who has played a good amount of NFL football before this 14-4 record.
Yeah, and the three losses, you can come up with like what happened. Like the Saints loss without Derrick Henry, without Jeffrey Simmons, tight game. The Texans loss, tight game. And the Carolina loss obviously was a coaching malfunction in that game. And then and turnovers. And then the AFC title game where the Patriots or the Chiefs are just the Chiefs.
And Sean brings up a good point. He says, Mike Vrabel was hired to do this. It was expected by the front office to do what he's doing. I think Titans fans, and I'll be honest, covering the team for over a decade, I have been shocked by the results because I've watched a lot of bad football like we all have, led by Jake Hurtlocker and VY Chicken Wing. Like that, I'm surprised because we've just seen a lot of bad football from this franchise besides the 2008 Kerry Collins year.
Yeah. A to Z Sports. Zach, I consider myself a pretty dang good headline writer. A lot of the headlines on our show written by me. I help out with headlines on the website. How about this headline that I came up with earlier this week? Mike Vrabel is a coaching genius hiding behind a dumb jock facade. That's one of my favorite headlines that I've come up with in recent history. I think that's what Mike Vrabel is. He is really smart. He knows every in and out about the game of football, but he also comes across like he doesn't want you to know this.
No, I think a lot. I love the headline. I was sitting right there when you came up with it. I said, we have to write an article about this. It's just too good. We have to use it because you're right. But I also think in today's age, it's easier to do that, right? Because of all the eyes that are looking on you. And Mike Vrabel has his own path of how he's come to where he is today. But I think you can portray a certain characteristic or trait, but really inside, the wheels are turning in a completely different manner of what everybody is thinking. So I endorse and I completely agree with that headline because, and you know what? Keep doing it. Keep everybody think that you're just the dumb jock head coach that got a job just because you worked under Bill Belichick. But he's proving to all of us he knows football. And he loves football. He loves coaching football. And I think now he's just gotten the opportunity to make his own decisions, right? You only get this chance when you're a head coach. And he's just recently gotten a head coaching job. So now, right, when you're the manager, when you get handed the keys, you can do donuts in the parking lot if you want to.
Just don't do it in a busy intersection on a Friday night after 9 after having 2 margaritas.
Very true.
All right, Zach, let's do this. Let's separate the Super Bowl contenders from the Super Bowl pretenders, and that includes the Tennessee Titans as well. But first, guys, let me tell you about Mandu, the pulse of fitness. Mandu.com, your first workout is free. Take advantage of that first free workout. You're going to love it. It only takes 15 minutes. How does a workout only take 15 minutes and absolutely work? It's because of full body electronic muscle stimulation. I've lost over 22 pounds of fat, like actual fat, off my body since last summer. and then also gained 8 pounds of muscle, transforming my body. I feel great. I'm not putting my joints through any pressure from lifting weights. Mandu.com. It's also by appointment only, so it's awesome during the pandemic because you're not having to deal with crowded weight rooms or people not wiping down equipment. They clean everything between every appointment. Mandu.com. Your first workout is absolutely free.
A to Z Sports. Don't forget, we partner with MyBookie. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Code MyTitans. We're hooking our Titans fans up with a cool promo code that doubles their first deposit. You put in $40, you actually get to play with $80. And Austin, tell our viewers about the best bet of the week.
The best bet of the week? I don't have it for this upcoming week.
What has our record been?
Oh, 5-1. How about that? How about them apples? 5-1. And I got in on that action last week because Jack Gentry comes up with the Titans' best bet of the week. So Jack's 5-1. Got to give Jack the props and the cred there. He said Deshaun Watson over 21.5 rushing yards. Boom, book it. MyBookie.ag, code MyTitans. Winner, winner.
We literally, you know how like Colin did the Blazing 5 Pists that one year and he was like, I think he was 76%, something crazy.
Which is unbelievable.
Right? And a lot of people that year won a ton of money. Jack, props to Jack. And this is more pressure on you because this is midway through the season, but we're giving you money essentially. If you follow these best bets and put them on MyBookie with code MyTitans, you can win some money. We're trying to help you out.
Yeah, real quick to give Jack some more cred. Jack and Austin Huff on the Tighten Up podcast. Charles Davis, the guest who's calling Titans Steelers on Sunday. Huge get from those guys. That podcast out right now. Came out this morning, A to Z Sports Podcast Network. So, Zach, we're going to separate the Super Bowl contenders from the pretenders. We're going to start in the AFC, and we're going to go through, and we're just going to – it's pretty simple. We're just going to say, is this team a contender to make the Super Bowl, to appear in the Super Bowl, or are they just a pretender? In the AFC, Zach, we have 8 teams. We've got 2 teams from each division. We're going to start in the AFC North. We've got the best record from last season, the Baltimore Ravens. They've only lost that one game, and it was ugly to the Chiefs. Are the Baltimore Ravens a Super Bowl contender?
Well, look, let's handle this, man. We don't have to go through all these teams. We know the Chiefs are Super Bowl contenders. If you think the Ravens aren't, speak up.
Or forever hold your peace.
Do you think the Ravens are or aren't?
You told me to speak up if you said no, they're not. So I didn't say anything. So they're contender.
That's what I'm saying. Let's cut the BS.
Okay. All right,
let's get down to the nitty-gritty. This show is not about window dressing, all right? You can go somewhere else.
No.
Austin, I want to know.
Time out. Monsoon brings up a good point. He says Lamar Jackson and the Ravens can't win a playoff game. So they've got to win at least 2 playoff games to get to the Super Bowl. Do you trust Lamar Jackson to be able to do that? Because he's 0-2. I mean, there you go. How about that? So now Monsoon brings up a great point. Are the Ravens, do you trust that the Ravens could actually win 2 playoff games with Lamar Jackson? Are they contender pretender?
Yes, they are contenders. And anybody says pretender is crazy. It doesn't mean that they can't lose another playoff game, but the Ravens are too good. They have a great
saying the Ravens are pretenders.
This is crazy. They're not pretenders. I know the Titans beat them, and maybe that you're holding that in your back pocket.
A different Nate says pretender 100%. Monsoon says I'll sack up and say it.
You people are crazy.
Maybe we didn't. Dustin says pretenders. Nate Conrad says contenders. They'll make the playoffs. Serious threat for the Super Bowl. Or not a serious threat for the Super Bowl. So, look, I think they're contenders, but I am surprised to see that there are some pretenders here. But the Lamar Jackson playoff thing is legit. Okay, so the Chiefs, contenders, right? They're
Super Bowl champion, defending champions.
Is there another just surely in the AFC?
I think that the Titans are Super Bowl contenders. And I have them on my list. We have the list of the teams. We did this before. We didn't talk about them. We're doing that now. The Titans, I think you have to put in as Super Bowl contenders. The other guys that you have to put in are the Pittsburgh Steelers. These are sure ends. I think it's pretty easy, but those are my stone cold locks if you want to know it. Ravens, Steelers, Chiefs, Titans in no particular order, but you have to have confidence. If I told you that one of those teams went to the Super Bowl this year, you would not be surprised. If I told you the Colts went to the Super Bowl, I think you'd be pretty shocked because you'd be like, damn, how did Philip Rivers get over the hump? If I told you that the Bills went to the Super Bowl, you'd be like, damn, we have a time machine? Is it 1991? What's going on? Where's
they
Jim
lost,
Kelly?
right? They lost in the Super Bowl, correct?
That's your next thing, is they probably lost, correct? But those four teams, if I told you they made the Super Bowl, I think everybody would say, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The Titans playing at an all-time high.
I think the Titans would be fourth on that list if you talk to people. The Titans would probably be fourth because you got the Chiefs and the Ravens and the Steelers who all have more known commodities at the quarterback position. And I would say the Ravens would probably, because the Ravens are the hot team right now because Lamar Jackson was the MVP, they're not going to surprise you. And Big Ben's done it before. So I think the Titans would probably be fourth on that list, but I don't disagree about the four.
Here's the Titans' problem. They've kind of switched, and it's a good and a bad thing. But last year, the reason why they went as far as they did was really strong running game in Derrick Henry, leading rusher in the NFL. We all know that. And their defense could hold tight on fourth down. That's why they beat the Ravens. That's why they beat the New England Patriots. This year, their quarterback play has honestly, it's stayed the same, if not gotten better, but their defense has gone down. They have to find a way, if they're going to get to the Super Bowl, for their defense to improve, because who feasts on defenses? We know Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson at times can feast on a defense, and Ben Roethlisberger with his experience can feast on a defense. So that's what they have to improve on.
So also not having Taylor Lewan, that's a big deal. If the Titans are going to go on a Super Bowl run, either Ty Sambrailo or Isaiah Wilson surprise the hell out of a lot of people.
I don't expect Isaiah Wilson.
I don't either. But I'm just saying that's something that has to be remembered there. And Derek's right. Adoree Jackson has to come back, and Adoree Jackson's not going to fix the defense, but he's definitely going to help it. Okay, so Ravens, Chiefs, Titans, Steelers. Those are all legit contenders to make the Super Bowl in the AFC. Colts, pretender or contender?
I think they are the closest to being a contender out of the other four teams.
Really?
Them or the Bills are two. And it's just because they've got a good record. The Colts have it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. Philip Rivers, I love Philip Rivers. I love his attitude, but he throws interceptions, and that is a recipe for disaster. And he's also never been to a Super Bowl. He's lost two FC championship games against two.
Damn it. The Steelers and the Broncos.
God, no, it's the Steelers and the Patriots.
But
you'll get it one day.
One of these days.
He hasn't gotten over the hump, and so I can't put them in the contender bucket.
Colts are easy for me, pretenders. They've lost too many big-time players for the season, and Philip Rivers is probably going to get worse as the weather gets colder. And I know they play in a dome, but they still have to go on the road and late in the year. And I don't think Philip Rivers can, with his old body, can hang up like that. And no, I'm just serious. Like that's something to it. Like the cold hurts the older you get. You can't deny that.
I'm like Big Daddy.
All right. So the Bills, since you brought up the Bills, since you brought up the Bills, I think the Bills are contenders. They're 0-2 in their last two, but I think the Bills.
I don't think they're contenders because of. I have to see Josh Allen grow up. He has to become a real boy.
The reason why I call the Bills contenders is because I think they're going to win their division. And by winning their division, they're going to have a better path. And so that's the only reason why I think they are contenders in this situation.
You know who I want? This is my one wish for the AFC to shake things up. All right? Here it is. before the season, I thought the Broncos were going to be a lot better. I think that Drew Lock's injury derailed him a little bit.
And Von Miller, obviously.
And obviously Von Miller, those two things. And listen up. I'm saying it Wednesday at 9:09 on October 21st. My one wish to shake up the AFC is the Miami Dolphins. I think Tua Tagovailoa can come in, and I love this move. Fitzpatrick is a 3-3 quarterback. That's what he is, right? He's not a 1-5 quarterback. He's a 3-3 quarterback. But this year, we may find out if Tua can put the Dolphins, because they see blood in the water. The Patriots are 2-3. They've got their issues. The Bills have just lost 2 straight. They've got their issues. The Jets blow. This is the perfect time for Tua to creep up with a lot of games. He's going to the bye week, then they play the Rams, to shock the AFC and to jump into the playoff picture, because there's an additional playoff team. My dark horse, I'm calling it today, the Miami Dolphins. I'm going to be watching them this season. They could shake things up.
Yeah, they could. They definitely could. So what do you think about the Patriots? Pretender or contender? I'm just going to say pretender.
I think they're a pretender as well. I think the offense, Cam Newton is what he is as well.
Yeah, and look, they've had a bunch of opt-outs. Like, we forget about all the big players that opted out. Last one in the AFC, the Raiders.
Raiders are strange.
Yeah, they are. Now, we're talking about to make the Super Bowl. I think the Raiders are a playoff team, but I don't think they're making the Super Bowl. So if we're talking specifically contenders or pretenders to make the Super Bowl, I'm going to call them pretenders. I definitely think they're a playoff team, though.
I would agree with you. The John Gruden factor, though, and I've seen John Gruden coach a lot of games. Derek Carr is a different quarterback than he has been the last couple of years. He's got better weapons. I think the defense is improved. I think that they've bought in. They had to rid themselves of the guys that didn't believe, and now I think they have guys that believe in Gruden and what he's saying. But Super Bowl, I think it's a little premature.
Yeah, so just to recap that, I think the Bills and the Raiders are playoff teams, but I think the Bills are more of a contender to make the Super Bowl. The Patriots and Colts, I think they're fighting for their lives to make the playoffs. So let's flip it to the NFC. We've got less teams to go through, and we'll do that more efficiently. But first, tell the people about Tucker Agency.
Yeah, TuckerTN.com. They can save you money on your insurance. That's why we have signed you can sign up with them, but that's why we've partnered with them this football season. Tucker Agency, TuckerTN.com, a presenting sponsor here on A to Z Sports, Nashville's independent insurance agency. All you have to do is email will@TuckerTN.com. Will Tucker and his team will take care of you. That's will@TuckerTN.com. Life insurance, home insurance, renter's insurance, car insurance. He'll put that policy under an umbrella and save you money. The average customer that emails will@TuckerTN.com saves 20%. That's money back into your pocket. TuckerTN.com.
A to Z Sports here on a Wednesday. Lewis says today is a really good show, and we still have shade to throw at the end, which I know we both have video for our shade, so that's going to be pretty good. Throwing shade coming up here later.
Mine has to do, I think both of us, and I know yours and you know mine, which is usually it's unusual.
Yeah,
because it's all about disrespect.
It is. Okay, so let's go through this. The NFC. I think the obvious Super Bowl contenders are Packers, Seahawks, right?
Packers, Seahawks, absolutely. MVP candidate and Aaron Rodgers, who went to the NFC Championship game last year.
So we agree there. That's that. Now it's like the next level. It's good teams, but have some holes. Saints, Bucks.
Fire them damn cannons. Fire them. They're definitely contenders. They got Tom Brady. The Bucks are good. The Bucks
are good. I believe the Bucks, yes. I'm going to say Saints, no.
You can't say this because Michael Thomas is about to come back.
That's
And
true.
you
That's
said
a
it
big
yourself that they're a
No,
different
you're right.
team
That's a big
without
deal.
Michael Thomas. So you can't don't eat your words real quick.
But to make the Super Bowl, I don't think like Drew Brees fell off a cliff at the end of the year.
What do you mean?
Drew Brees at the end of last season was not very good.
He's still Drew Brees. He still has it in him. And when Michael Thomas returns, and I hope he does because I have him on my fantasy team, that he comes back and they play a lot better. Now I hope they lose to the Bucs, but they are definitely contenders. If I told you the Saints went to the Super Bowl this year, you wouldn't be that surprised. You'd say, all right, this is probably their window is closing, but their window is still open.
Titans 212 says you can't count out the Saints until they lose. But I am now, right now. I think the Saints are Super Bowl pretenders. They're a playoff team, wild card, because I think the Bucs are going to win the division. Okay, so I'm out on the Saints, in on the Bucs. The Bears.
Out of here.
Yeah, I'm out too. Like defense, good. Nick Foles, Super Bowl winning quarterback. Not that right now.
The one thing about the Bears,
yeah,
they could pick momentum. And that's what that's how the Eagles won the Super Bowl that year. That's how the Giants won the Super Bowl their wild card year. That's how the Steelers won their Super Bowl their wild card year. Momentum, because of how good their defense truly is. They have Allen Robinson, right? Rex Grossman, sexy Rexy, when they went to the Super Bowl and lost the you can't name a wide receiver on that.
I was actually just thinking about it because I wonder if you're going to ask that.
And Devin Hester doesn't count.
Devin Hester, he does. I'm going to waste time doing this.
Trivia right there.
Yeah.
Name a wide receiver from Sexy Rexy's Super Bowl appearance.
I don't know.
No, you don't.
Like Eric Moulds? Like, did he go to the Bears after the Titans or between that and the Bills? Muhsin Muhammad, like old man Muhsin Muhammad?
Muhsin Muhammad did play on that team.
But he wasn't any good at that point.
He caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl, so that's how that's true. But Allen
Johnny
Robinson,
Knox.
Allen Robinson and Johnny Knox, that's good. Allen Robinson and Jimmy Graham, those guys are at least notable, and they've got some running backs.
But I think we're out on the Bears as Super Bowl contenders. They're pretenders. Okay, last two: Rams and Cardinals. Rams and Cardinals.
The Cardinals aren't there yet.
Right, I agree.
Kyler Murray's arm will hold them back. His legs will push them forward, but his arm will hold them back. The Rams are sneaky. The problem is the Rams went to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, but that team, they've lost a lot of talent. I don't think, have the talent. I think they have the scheme, but I don't think they have the talent to do it on the offensive side of the ball.
I'd agree. So I think the only three contenders out of the AFC are Bucs, Packers, Seahawks. So that should make you happy.
What about the sneaky? And here's my, I said the Dolphins are going to be sneaky. I think the 49ers are going to be sneaky. I think the 49ers, I wouldn't be surprised. They could make the playoffs. They're going to be contending with the Bears, who already have a better record. But if Jimmy Garoppolo gets his act straight under Kyle Shanahan's offense, running the football, the 49ers can definitely get back into this game.
They're just so banged up.
They are, but they're getting healthier.
Yeah, but you can't. Nick Bosa's not walking back through those doors. So I don't know about that.
Maybe on crutches.
Yeah.
Or one of those wheel things.
Yeah, one of those scooters after he has surgery on his ACL. All right, it is esports.
We're not even going to talk about the NFC East. We move on.
No, we move on from that. There's zero coming out of the NFC East that's worth a damn. All right, it is esports here live. It is time for Throwing Shade on a Wednesday. Excited about this segment, but first let me tell you guys about the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org. They're the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever that injury happens in life, whether it's to you, someone you love, and your family, your kids, whatever it might be, they've got the way to get the best care possible. If you need that total joint replacement, they can take care of that as well. Their facility is beautiful right there in Franklin. Boneandjointtn.org. We'll actually be there tomorrow on a Titans Thursday. Going to have a good show tomorrow. But now, Zach, it's time for Throwing Shade.
Yes, it is. I'll go ahead and go first because I think yours are more on the local level of being fiery, which I'm interested to have that conversation because I think it is warranted based on what had happened this week. Mine is more on a national level, and both of ours have to do with absolute disrespect. But I'm going to play a video that I was sent, and honestly, it just pisses me off because we've been in these situations to a degree, but Jason Fitz and Field Yates are interviewing John Wall. Now, I kind of think of John Wall as you think of James Harden. The guy is a prick. Like, that's what he is. He's a prick. He thinks his stuff doesn't stink, and he's not as good as he could be, right? Like, I think he has potential to be really good, but he will never climb the ladder. You know what? He'll backdoor his way into a championship when he's old. That's what I think John Wall will do.
Yeah.
John Wall is playing spades while doing this interview. Take a listen.
For him, all he has to do is go in there and do his job.
So who in the NBA is the biggest NFL trash talking person that you like to go at when the Cowboys are playing?
I don't know, to be honest, man, because everybody got different teams, and it's a lot of Cowboys fans, so I really don't have trash talking with a lot of my teammates or anything like that, because, a lot of people switch teams when the players switch, so they don't really got a legit team like I do.
The Cowboys are currently in first place in the NFC East and can have a pretty commanding lead with a win tonight, but that part is good. But be honest, John, how much have you enjoyed seeing the Eagles and also the Washington football team and also the Giants stumble out of the gate so far this season?
Repeat that question, please. I'm sorry.
How much have you enjoyed watching the other NFC East teams stumble out of the gate so far this season? Because it has been a rough go for Philly, Washington, and also the Giants.
It's been great. For us, we had a tough schedule early on, so it's been great. So I'm happy that we get opportunity now to kind of get some games where we're not playing against some of the best teams, and we kind of find a way to win. But it's going to be tough without Dak. But I think we have the right pieces, Amari Cooper, Zeke, CeeDee Lamb, the way he's playing, and Michael Gallup.
You've mentioned a couple of times.
I think we have the pieces. We just got to get our defense to step it up. That's where we're struggling at right now.
You've mentioned a couple of times, John, that you're a lifelong Cowboys fan. So, do you have a favorite memory?
He could care less. Don't do the interview.
Yeah.
Don't do the interview. It's literally 10 minutes out of your day. But
not even that, probably.
Probably not even that. He's got a personal chef cooking him lunch, probably in the background. He's playing spades. I play spades. I love spades. Spades, you have to pay attention. And don't do the interview. That's disrespectful to the guys that are asking you the questions. Again, be respectful and just say, look, man, I'm not going to do the interview. I'm doing something else. But that pisses me off so bad, and it drives me crazy and we've had interviews where they just don't care. Mm-hmm. If you don't care, just don't do it. It's okay. We don't want to hear you when you have zero interest. We want to hear, and the bad part is they're talking about the putrid Cowboys, and he's speaking like they're a contender. That's the problem. It's they got more problems than just their defense, bud. Are you that much of an idiot? Come on. John Wall, I throw shade on you. God, it just drives me nuts. Makes me so upset. Show some respect if you are going to go on national television, and because eventually, John Wall, nobody's going to want to interview you. And I can't wait till that day comes. You'll have a lot of money, but one day, nobody will give a damn what you're doing. I don't even know why they gave a damn what he was doing now, honestly.
Throwing shade here on a Wednesday, every Wednesday here on A to Z Sports. My shade is on a local level. So we're watching the game, Titans game on Sunday at the Mainstay. Taylor Lewan goes down and immediately goes to grasp his knee. He walks off the field during an injury timeout, and he goes in to the injury tent. And then I see this tweet from David Reed of 104.5 The Zone, Titans radio affiliate, tweets this: congrats to Taylor Lewan. He's spent enough time in the tent this season to finally earn his badge. So that tweet honestly pissed me off a little bit because Yeah, Lawan is dramatic. Lawan has admitted to being dramatic, but he's gotten hurt a lot. But the guy's playing NFL football. He got a stinger in his neck. He hurt his shoulder. He's probably having to use that KT tape to keep his shoulder in socket. And then everybody who was watching that game could totally tell that that was a potentially serious knee injury when it comes to Taylor Lewan. And in fact, it's a torn ACL.
Show the tweet again.
Here's the tweet from David Reed of the 104.5 The Zone. Congrats to Taylor Lewan. He's spent enough time in the tent this season to finally earn his badge.
My issue with this is it is funny, but it's funny for the wrong reason. Like, I get the humor. I have a sense of humor. I think really sadistic things are funny, Austin. You know me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this draws the line when it comes to a player's livelihood and also a team that has a contract of your employer, right? There is also the 105 The Zone is the official Titans flagship, right? That, I think, was my issue, is the dots that were connected.
Well, here was my issue, because I say, David Reed, is this you? So that was a video of David Reed, the sender of the tweet making fun of Taylor Lewan for going in the injury tent when he himself tore a ligament in his ankle by falling down right there in that video. So David Reed, don't throw stones when you fall through glass doors. That is my shade.
That's fair. And I would love for Taylor Lewan to respond to the tent tweet. Again, it has some humor, but in the moment, and I think it's the moment, right? And Austin, I turned to you the second that it happened. I said, Taylor Lewan tore his ACL. We've watched enough football. I know how those things work. And my first response, honestly, my first thought when I saw that, after I was like, man, he tore his ACL, like, damn, this is going to be a long road to recovery, right? You think about the rehab and all the things that have to go into getting back to playing football. And football is a physical sport. You're going to get hurt. But my first thought was not like, and David Reed's probably watched a lot of football too. I'm not going to discredit him. He probably, it looked bad.
It did look bad. And look, and I got the video was from Reed posting that on Twitter. And David Reed's a good sport about it because he posted that video of him hurting himself by falling down the steps like that. And he just said blocker charge. So again, but still, don't throw stones if you fall through glass doors. You cannot make fun of an NFL player getting hurt playing an NFL game when you hurt yourself opening the door for your wife.
And really, that badge, if you really want to be funny, Jake Locker's got a whole cabinet full of those badges.
Yeah.
And we didn't see do we do that when Marcus Mariota broke his leg or his nerve or anything like that? Like, I guess, and a lot of it probably, maybe it's Lewan and his personality, but you never want to see people fail by injury.
Correct.
Sometimes you want to see people fail because that's just sport, but I never want to see people fail by injury.
No.
That's on a whole new level. I wish that upon nobody. Even when Christian McCaffrey, when my ass is going to get tased, I wasn't wishing a broken leg on him. I just wanted the defenses that he faced to play a little bit better.
Or just him to not be that good. That's all you're hoping for. Or
just replace this year with that year, right?
Yeah.
That would have helped me.
Yeah. All right, guys, that is the show for today. Great Wednesday show. You got something else?
Louis says sombrero pad up. Juan will be okay. Strong man. That's a funny comment. Sombrero pad. I don't know if that's like referencing a maxi pad or one of those
No,
Brillo pads.
No, it's a Brillo pad. Yeah.
I know, but, you could take it both ways. That's why I didn't know if it was a knock.
I think most people took it the Brillo pad way, but considering how he spelled it, but I don't know. That's just me.
Because a Brillo pad is literally the opposite of a maxi pad. So you're right. That may be his new name, some Brillo pad.
Oh my gosh. All right, guys. Great Wednesday show. We will see you guys tomorrow morning live from Bone and Joint on a Titans Thursday. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. Don't forget, Tighten Up Podcast has Charles Davis, who's calling the Titans Steelers game on Sunday. Buck Rising back tonight with A to Z Sports Primetime. We'll see you later.
I love it. Sam Brillo pad. Adios.